And so you have all come to the appointed place at the appointed time to keep your appointment with the Wicker Man. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming. This is the reading for, hold on, I'm just going to mute everyone who's not me. No offense. Please do unmute yourselves later. This is Welcome to Sorts, the man going before me who led me away. This is our 7th issue, 7th episode, our reading here for October 1st. We'll get to who we are and what we're doing in a little bit, but first I would like to invoke the muse and read you all a little poem to get started, because it is the 1st of October and it is an eerie night here in Philadelphia. And so I'll tell you about how yesterday, upon the stair, I met a man who wasn't there. And he wasn't there again today. How I wish he'd go away. When I came home last night at 3, the man was waiting there for me. But when I looked around the hall, I couldn't see him there at all. Go away, go away. Don't you come back anymore. Go away, and please don't slam the door. Last night I saw upon the stair a little man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today, and how I wish he'd go away. Welcome again. That's William Hugh Hearn's Antigonish. Well, please, no, I just read someone else's poem. I love that poem, and it's really creepy, and I love October, and I'm wearing all orange. Yes, so thank you all for joining us on this holiest of holy Fridays, the first day of October. Sorts is Jeremy Eric Tenenbaum. Hi, Jeremy. And myself, Kevin Travers. Sorts is a paper magazine on the internet. We are stories, poems, songs, and illustrations to help while away the wintry summer nights and the cruel days. It's an oddball grab bag Wunderkammer mixtape you found under the car seat and activity box lost and found. And my first apology is that I said the word Wunderkammer. You can find us on all the socials, on Facebook and Instagram, but not Twitter, because not even Jeremy and I hate ourselves that much. An additional reminder to please mute yourselves if you are not reading, but please do feel free to unmute after each performance to show your appreciation via clapping or any other noise you'd like to make. Also, please do make use of the chat to engage and commune with one another as we go along. We will have 9 readers tonight, 10 pieces to share, and a brief intermission between to fill your cups. And that's enough for me. Without further ado, we're going to launch right in with Jeremy's musical cue, I think.
It was upon a Lammas night when corn rigs are bonny. Beneath the moon's unclouded light I held a while to Annie.
Iris Johnston used to live in Shanghai, and she can't shut up about it. Although, side note, I've never actually heard Iris talk about Shanghai, so I feel like maybe we're not real friends. Once a linguistics student with dreams of writing a dictionary, she now focuses mainly on painting, embroidery, and the occasional zine. Iris lives in Scranton without her cat, and welcome Iris back to Sorts with me. We won't let her get away.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you, Jeremy. My biography is now inaccurate because I now live in Scranton with my cat. But anyway, I'm going to read or recite. I'm going to recite 3 poems today. Can anybody not hear me? Cool. So I'm going to recite 3 poems. The first one is about a 1980s WWF wrestler of prodigious height, and it's called Andre. The skull of Egil Skallagrim is as pitted as porphyry, from the spectacular phrenology to the bumpy barnacle chin. It is unbreakable and heavy as a sack of books. What of your skull, meditating naked in the dark, the brow bone like the mouth of a cave? What color? What weight? And does that jumbo mushroom cap recall how it once protected a brain dull, uncluttered, kind, telling hands large as loaves to write Christmas cards to strangers? No. No memories for that discarded apple core. There is no need for it to wonder whether or why it is called to from across the sea by a less stupendous mineral miracle holding a Christmas card. This poem is in the newest issue of Sorts, and you can read it along with me if you like. My friend Helen asked me to write a poem about a zoetrope, and so it's called Zoetrope. Most things are best when you're 4. At 30, you're freezing in Philadelphia at Easter, but at 4, you rocket coatless up the steps of the Franklin Institute. At 30, you balk at the cost of their soup, $8 a cup, while men sleep on those steps. But certs and some Twizzlers will suit you at 4. And when you see the zoetrope and you spin its wooden handle, it will remind you of nothing, not your dead grandpa or your disappeared youth, no sympathy cramps for the hours spent snipping clowns out of vellum, no knowledge of ocular horseplay. It will be magic. The last poem, I couldn't decide. Yeah, okay. My friend, which friend? My friend Alicia, I think, asked me to write a poem about a little boy making paper airplanes. And that's what this one is called. God, as a youth, was prone to temper tantrums. He hated not getting it right the first time. He left crumpled planets and mutated genes strewn all over the living room floor until his mother found him and soothed him, said, "Let me show you." She brought him clean paper and a ruler for folding, and together they practiced. And then Earth took form and left God's hand and swooped like an airplane into the sky.
Woo-woo.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. It's here.
Thank you, Iris.
Wait, I've got a little job to do that I keep forgetting about.
Heikki Huotari, in a past century, attended a one-room school and spent summers on a forest fire lookout tower. He's a retired math professor and has published poems in numerous literary journals, including Spillway, the American Journal of Poetry, and Willow Spring. His fourth collection, Deja Vu Goes Both Ways, won the Star 82 Press Book Award. Please welcome Heikki Huotari.
Thank you, Kevin. I would like to read the 2 poems from your journal and maybe a couple of poems from my new collection. When correlation is causation, which will be available from Better Than Starbucks Press any day now. I'm watching the time as I do this, but I would like to say a little bit about each poem before I jump into it. I'm motivated by ideas, and then it becomes music as I walk around the block. Doppler explained why a siren changes pitch as it passes you, and the same principle applies to the redshift of a star that's flying away from you. And Bernoulli noticed that there's less pressure in a faster flowing fluid, which is the principle that we think keeps an airplane in the air. As far as I know, It's still not completely understood. So the first poem is called Mistake of Nature. God says, who told you you were anatomically correct? And as the free-range chickens, Doppler and Bernoulli, whistle past a cemetery, but dispassionately redshift, if a picnic is the kind of picnic where left over there are twice as many plastic forks as plastic spoons, compulsion settles for obsession, maybe I'll go south and with a giant pair of scissors, mugging for the camera, cut some crime scene tape. If in New York I crop up, maybe crop up in New Jersey simultaneously, and let leopards change the spots in their imaginations, to which battle of the bands ought I not dance? Next poem, introductory remarks. A deification may or may not have a favorable outcome. For example, Cassandra was doomed to always know the future and to tell it, but never to be believed. So this poem is called Apotheosis. Dishonor mimics to whatever extent they deserve. Did I say to dishonor mimics? I meant mimic these dishonorees. I'm writing disappearing ink with innocence and vice versa. I'm more honest Abe than honest Abe. And following a night of flying, I put on my wonder garments, one prehensile atavism at a time. The body not of water, not of knowledge, and the perfect body not of ashes, not of fishes, but concomitant of opposites. The call is coming from inside the house. The rising tide lifts only Noah's boat. The deck is stacked. Cassandra leaves them laughing. Pugilists are languishing in rope and canvas corners. And skip the line. And deflated, Santa's but a plastic puddle. As in Phoenix, Arizona, it's another shirt sleeve Christmas Eve. Okay, now to my new collection. Once each year, the students at MIT drop a piano off a building, and I'm commemorating that. The poem is called Piano Drop. Negations of negations, says the pragmatist. There is no extrapolation, but in cutting to the chase. The vaulting pole is broken, and by hovering, the center of mass is maintained. The first half hour of alternating consciousness is free. The engineer who doesn't know what sin is drops the first piano, and the word for word translation from the language of love is sufficient. So as not to pick the pace up, I'll stay 1/2 step behind. 10 billion years from now, the alien intelligence will miss no episode of I Love Lucy. Okay, one more. If your best friend were in hell and you were in heaven, there is no way you would be happy because you care about your best friend. The poem is called Woke from Coma, Speaking French. When the a priori contradicts itself, then anything is possible. So what it's all about is either Alfie or the hokey pokey, and the talking octopus says, rough the suspect up. But later we find out the talking octopus was only joking. Now the talking octopus says, Where's your sense of humor? Consequently, you see your asymmetry is in remission, as you don't remember which side it was on. The hands of Canada take comfort out of context. Guess who's Doppler shifting now? Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Nice goal, thank you.
Wait, we're gonna hit commercial eventually, but
Chris Eagle, originally from Delco, PA, has also lived in Berkeley, Paris, Sydney, Berlin, Antwerp, Chicago, and now Atlanta, where he teaches health humanities at Emory University. He is the author of Disfluences on Speech Disorders in Modern Literature. Recently, he completed the manuscript to the novel Dwell Here and Prosper, a dark comedy based on a diary his father kept while living in a dysfunctional assisted living facility somewhere in Delco. Chris receives his PhD from UC Berkeley and, like Robert McGhee, is a former Fulbright scholar. Everyone, Chris Eagle and his incredible beard.
Thank you, Jeremy. Kevin, thank you especially for including me in the issue. There's a couple of people who attended that I'd like to thank as well. Super fast is Mita for all of her influence on my writing. Brett Moonsicki, who is the only person in the room who has been in the apartment where the story I'm about to read from was actually set. Jenna and Janine as well. Janine, I'm about to read a description of a story set partly in Delco, partly in Philadelphia, but in the Delco part, the character walks right by Janine's house, so she will recognize the locale. And again, Kevin and Jeremy, thank you equally, but Jeremy, thank you a little extra equally because Jeremy and I go way back to Villanova. He was one of my mentors, took me under his wing when I was a freshman ages ago. So yeah, this event has me full of enough nostalgia to kill a bull, frankly, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm the first prose reader, so bear with me, my stuff will be a little slower, I think, to get going. But the selection I picked, it's from early in the story. The story I included in this issue of SORTES is called Care of Kubicki. And as I said, the story sort of takes place partly in Delco, partly in Philadelphia. And so I chose a selection from it that touches on both of those locales. I'm sure a lot of the Philly natives will recognize one place in the passage I'm about to read as well. All right, here we go. In sandals, it took Marty 25 minutes to reach the Frontier Saloon. As he cut across his former T-ball diamond, he sighed at the wooden statue of Crazy Horse over on the roof. The polka-dotted colt was still rearing beside him. The bear was still stolen. He crossed at the light and entered through the takeout section, past the rows of refrigerated beer and wine spritzers, the Powerball machine, into the near total darkness of the bar room. A burly bartender he couldn't quite place sat in his army coat atop a covered metal trash can behind the bar. The box fan on full blast beside him kept bending his beard. His ring finger was preoccupied with scrolling away from something on his phone. The only other customer looked up from his own phone to get the bartender's attention for the newcomer. Marty ordered fingers and fries plus a ying. "You're Rebar, aren't you?" he asked when his beer arrived. "You're thinking of my brother." The barman looked accustomed to the confusion, yet so exasperated by it also, Marty half expected him to sulk back to his trash can until he continued talking. But if you're dying to learn about rebar, I'll tell you about rebar. All it is reinforcement beams you stick in the concrete. There's two kinds of strength, tension and compression. So like an overpass, what's the difference? If I sat on Terry here, that's compressive strength, he said, pointing at the other patron. Now that Marty's eyes had adjusted to the darkness, he could make out the loud birds of paradise all over Terry's Panama shirt. And if I took Terry's arms, and that's tensile. You make a cage out of these beams, then you pour into that. When Marty's plate arrived, he was on his third beer plus the 240 milliliters of rye from earlier, and therefore grateful for the grease. He ate hurriedly, then slid the plate as far away as possible. Eventually, a tatted blonde replaced Rebar's brother, who then shifted to bouncer. A man in loafers with a feathered haircut brought his dog in under his left arm. The Phillies played the Cardinals, muted on both TVs, while the place filled up with people decked out for some country line dancing class. A little before close, Marty got too boisterous for your average Tuesday at the Frontier. He needed to be chaperoned to the end of the block by Rebar's brother and pointed in the wrong direction. For the next few days, Marty's brain committed itself to rehashing 4 years of drawn arguments between himself and his ex-fiancée. By now, he had located his pint glass and the ice cube tray near the bottom of the kitchen box, though he still drank from the measuring cup anytime the pint glass held soaking utensils. On his trips to and from the freezer, Marty hated how Kristen could still insert herself into his thoughts the very second his attention was pulled away from the computer. His ex was an art history professor at Temple, 31, on the verge of tenure, therefore doubly vulnerable when they met by the dartboard at Dirty Frank's. He was 35 and put off by the gruffness of Delco women enough to ride the R3 into Center City 5 or 6 nights a month. Every first Friday, when all the galleries stayed open late, Marty liked to step through their unimpressive displays of cardboard, manipulated in the same 6 or 7 ways, praying for a pretext to meet any edifying woman from the city. When he recognized Kristen from one of the galleries by her peacock skirt and reddish hair waiting to order, Marty decided to challenge her with the second dart he was holding in his palm. The two of them played badly while she laughed at all his pat dismissals of the lousy art, mouth covered the same way a gregarious nun might humor an irreverent joke. Upon last call, she gallantly insisted on walking him to his train. On the way, he couldn't tell if she was just clueless as to timetables or deliberately trying to make him late, but they took 2 wrong turns at her insistence and walked more slowly than an architecture tour. He missed the last train by over 20 minutes. During the shivery walk back to her place, Marty became unnerved by the exactness with which all of this matched his fantasy. His head began to flood more than a little prematurely with images of a more interesting life. Advanced showings and memberships, weekends antiquing, etc. Whenever Marty's brain worked too hard like this regarding possibilities, he would grow noticeably silent. Not knowing him better, Kristen mistook his sudden hopefulness for simple shyness. She held the door for him. Upstairs, she poured them cognac in some samovar glasses her father had brought back from a business trip to Moscow. Detail by detail, Marty took in what he firmly believed to be his future apartment. How easy it would be to slide that credenza over a couple feet so as to make room for his desk. His books could hide behind hers. Humming along to Etta James, Kristen made up the pullout for him, where the two proceeded to have slightly workmanlike sex. Overnight, each took a turn at vomiting as noiselessly as possible. The end. I thought I'd end on a real romantic note. Thank you.
Wait.
Faye Chevalier is a Philadelphia-based poet and seltzer appreciator. She is the author of the chapbooks Future Text from Empty Set Press 2018 and Flesh Wound Accidental Player Press 2020. Her work has been featured in We Want It All, an anthology of radical trans poetics from Nightboat Books 2020, Bedfellows, The Wanderer, Peach Mag, Yes Poetry, The Tiny, and elsewhere. She has also been widely recognized as the first poet ever to have work published in a cyberpunk tabletop RPG podcast, Neo Scum 2018. Find her on Twitter, where she cries about River Phoenix, vampires and having a body at Bratcore. Faye Chevalier.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Thanks y'all so much for coming out. This is my second time reading for Team Sorts and my second time being published with Team Sorts, and it's always a GD dream. Thank y'all so much. I'm gonna read 2 poems from the mag, one not from the mag. I'll unlock my Twitter after this if you want to DM me to buy these books. They're about the same. Anyway, this is a poem called Condone First Degree Murder. Torn out tongues and beaten rock bods strewn about the sensual rounds of a wrong turn town year. Wish a single death on every ice agent and fright about. Espinoza writes, is it possible to destroy power without first eating it? And I feel the answer lives in the entropy of capital, the brimming end of industry, the cold death of infrastructure. And with clean prison eyes, Kamala Harris gives her pronouns on CNN, and someone on Twitter says wealth burns politics into aesthetics. Ha ha ha, this is true discipline, baby. A rat for every pore, a flesh for every hole. Kill, 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 kill. Mass threads of peeps who live to be soldiers after the rev. Left my answers in my cult year, whiteness straight kills if left to fester. And this next one, if I can actually get on the page, is it's named after a game. It's called F, Marry, Kill, 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 and Kill. Can you guys tell that these were written in the mid 2020s? Yeah. A friendly fire, heaving, whatever. Self-consuming swarm swelling my knees, predating the rain. Bedridden till Joe's Biden called on cops to maim. I quit cutting years ago, but missed the ache. I catch Crash, the 96 ones, you perverts, where James Spader goes, maybe the next one, maybe the next one, while Deborah Kara Unger lies living in his arms by a mad wreck. Intention, like a sore, rusts the exposed bone, like gay terror, like a confession, like plastic flowers sprouting from my gums again. Kick rocks, kidding, until the revolution. Here goes. I just realized that I had 2 poems I sent in there talk about violent revolution. I promise that's not the only thing I think about. Again, thank y'all so much. This was really fun. Sorts is my favorite mag out there, and it was like an absolute delight to get published in there once again. You can find, thank you. I love my teeth have been extra fragile and useless lately as well. I'm gonna read one last newer one because I try to read a new one in each thing. And this one is called Ataraxia 2. Sling me some film wrecks to starve to death to. Watch me some burning fingers. Days and days of following the new Vanguard party hoss, and I am never gonna get it. Kicking a art until it creaks. Peep nothing in return. Whatever, but hell yeah, I got charged $2,000 for a straighter spine. Worked it off, the spine I mean. Like a rapid violence set to classical music, hoping you feel better while I stare at the ceiling. Cultivate the red of mine eyes like a GD crop. Here in heaven, the owing never stops. Schedule your own eviction with just one simple app. The necromantic boss couture, hardline jet set away into a healthy body where glassed hearts beat still, sunning in the next climate wave. Scope out a celebrity's corpse on the drive home. How deep should the burn go? Work those brain bones until they plie down. It need not be now. Thank you.
Faye, you were waxing us up. You were absolutely waxing us up, and we appreciate it tremendously. Kevin, can I do my intermission segue?
I thought you had music, and then I had a segue. Do you have a segue? Do we both have segues? Do they cross?
I'm gonna do
segue streams?
It will. Let me do a little music, and then you do your bit, and then I'll do a little more music, and then everyone will go away.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Flora, where did you learn that song? I don't think I remember. It's the song from the music box, isn't it? Isn't it?
And before everybody is very happy to jump off the Zoom call as soon as possible, we're going to take a brief intermission. And but first, a couple of things. I am meant to, as the host, I must mention our social media. As I said, we are on all the socials at Sorts Magazine, except for Twitter. And you can, of course, read everything that you have seen here, or that you're seeing here, and more. I can hear you. That's okay. Sorry. I'm not loud enough. Sorry. Everything that is that you've heard here today and more are on our website, sorts.co. We have the entire back catalog, all the archives as well. You can read everything that we've ever published. We also have Radio Sorts, which is an occasional live audio-visual program that we put on of various old-time radio programs. You can listen to that as well as old or the former readings, all which are on our YouTube. And last but certainly not least, I wanted to tell you all that we put out our first small, we are usually on the internet, but we put something on paper. We have our sampler, our Sorts sampler book, which was designed by Jeremy. It contains 3 pieces. That's my bird. He's a real bird, but this is an illustration of him done by Jeremy. Pieces from Mordecai, Martin, Iris, Johnston, and our friend who is in a former issue, Abby Whitehouse. And it's wonderful. And I think we are selling these for like $10, and they're limited run. And we can, if you want one, please DM us, and we will send one straight to your door. And now all those oh, we also have mugs. If you want mugs, we'll send you a mug too. And now I'm embarrassed because I've done far too many sales things. We're going to take a 5-minute intermission. Please come back because we have some wonderful things coming up. And yeah, just get something to drink and enjoy each other's company. I demand it.
If I give you the OK symbol, does that mean we're white supremacists? I've just flashed our audience the white supremacists. Okay, now you can talk among yourselves.
Side note, if Nicholas Karavatos, if you are here, please give us a shout. I'm not sure if you have made it. If you are, please let us know, and you can kick off the next section.
Kevin, is there a chance that he is here and that we don't see him?
It's possible that he's under a name that I didn't recognize, so I just wanted to shout out because I don't want Nicholas to think that we totally forgot about him.
Is that? Do you think he's Stark Corners?
No, that's Elizabeth. I think.
Do you think he's James Bontempo?
I have seen James Bond Tempo, and he is no James Bond Tempo. But no, it's possible.
Stark
I don't
Corners
know.
is not Elizabeth because Elizabeth is Elizabeth.
Wait, who's
She's
Stark
right
Corners?
there.
Elizabeth, are you running up our numbers? Are you just trying to increase our numbers?
I thought Elizabeth was in a Stark Corners box.
She
My
was,
God.
but now she's in her
Is she
own.
not?
I'm going to
Oh.
refund you for
Own
one of your
making.
sorts books.
Stark Corners is where Elizabeth yells at the child, I think, and then she comes to her own box to hang out. Yeah,
It sounds like
that's right.
an existential children's program in the 70s, where they sit two children in a white box and give them the hard talk.
Newman, I see you. All right, I'm going to turn my video on. Full
Sam?
disclosure, I'm a mess.
What's going on? Talk to us.
Oh, nothing.
I love
Hi.
how that's your version of a mess. You look absolutely beautiful.
I just feel greasy. Like I didn't get to take a shower. I got home from
Oh,
the
don't we
theater.
all?
I know.
I don't feel greasy at all.
I feel greasy.
My mom said I should brush my teeth before this, and I said, I'm just going to tell people that they have something on their screen.
Hello, Violet and Hazel. Hello, Kirsten and maybe Tim. Hello, people waving at me. You can come off of mute if you want to say hello.
Look at that cat. Are we getting
Hello,
shocked? I
you.
got
Look,
one.
look, he's used to being hung up that
He
way.
just turned 12 yesterday.
Oh, look at him.
I saw you yesterday.
Oh, look, we're introducing cats. Would anyone like to lift up their gecko or anyone else
Please
to
do.
meet us?
Jack is in his cage over there too, but I'm not letting him out.
Hello,
I was wondering
says
if-
Pinocchio.
Tim, who's Jack? What animal is Jack?
The parrot.
Parrot. I'm sorry.
That's
Yes.
a beautiful bird. I was
African
wondering
gray.
if Jack would make an appearance. He probably does not want to.
Hello, Hazel.
Elizabeth Kuczynski is showing off her pets
As Stark Corners or as Elizabeth?
as
I'm-
Stark.
I'm Stark Corners now. This is my last Monarch Chrysalis of the year.
Oh, nice.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I released over 100, and this one is the latecomer.
Over
It's the only one
100.
left. Yeah.
It's amazing.
So that's my pet. It's amazing because it's temporary and free. That's the only pet that I prefer to have.
Like life, yeah.
Got this one.
As a vegan, I can absolutely say that looks delicious.
I've wondered what they taste like. What do you think?
You can just lick the. I think they look like.
You would need
candy.
to crunch it.
Yeah, I think
No.
you'd have to bite to
They
know.
look like
really.
the green
Silkworm,
Skittles. Yeah.
silkworm pupae don't really taste like much of anything. They're a little proteiny and a little sweet, little bitter.
Iris.
They don't. So I sort of imagine they probably don't really taste like much. It's a texture.
Iris.
I am
What?
thinking
I'm
Eating
happy.
bugs is vegan, Jeremy. You can't possibly have any
Iris,
kind of a
what's his
problem
cat's
with eating
name?
bugs. My cat, this is Fathead Newman.
He's delightful.
I know I can't
And I
see.
love
Where's
him
the...
very much.
Does
And
he have
he's
a
so
fat
old.
head?
There he is.
He's just a bag of dirty rags, aren't you? Yes, you are.
Oh, did Violet and Hazel have a?
Yeah, his
Yeah,
little
yes.
butt.
Better write them.
Today, my wife
Big
called
up.
me and told me that we have a mouse in the house, and that and she said with complete disgust and outrage, she said, "Mo, Pharaoh, our cat, saw the mouse and he didn't do anything." I was like, "Yeah, hon, he's useless. I've been telling you he's useless."
He's just a pretty face.
He really is.
Mo, your microphone is really dim, just so you know. So when it's time for you to read,
Oh,
fix that shit.
Yeah, no, he has the full operatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin, do you think we could have an operatic sorts sometime?
I think so. Do we know do the whole issue is an opera, or do we have an opera person? Do we know opera singers?
I am composing an opera.
I honestly just thought that we would all bellow.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm
But
always
yes, we can do
bellowing
it properly.
internally.
Yeah, internally bellow. Yeah.
Oh, are you really writing an opera?
Yeah, my advisor in school is a musical composer, and we're writing an opera together based on Borges' story, The Secret Miracle.
I love that.
I think any Borges could be turned into an opera, don't you?
Many of them, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know Laurie Anderson, the performer, the somewhat experimental performer? She wanted to do a musical of Thomas Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow, and he said yes, but it has to be done completely with kazoos. So she took that as a no.
Yeah.
But I still feel that if we do an opera, a sorts opera, it could be done with kazoos.
That makes more sense than Gravity's Rainbow, though I haven't read it being done with kazoos.
We're along B- to Gravity's Rainbow. Yes, I'm well aware, but still, thank you for
I know. I'm just saying that I'm not insulting us. I'm just saying that kazoos would suit us more.
If our next issue is Sorts versus Pynchon, then we would absolutely.
Yeah. If anybody brings out a ukulele, I quit them.
I would like. What can we do to be sued by Thomas Pynchon as a PR stunt?
I have one right here. Do you need it?
Thank you.
Well, I mean, Kevin said he didn't want it.
She just. I think Kelly is trying to force my resignation upon the appearance of a ukulele.
It's just exciting when someone says they don't want something and I happen to have that thing in arm's reach. That doesn't happen very often. I don't even know if you know how to play that, do you?
No.
All right. Well, blessedly, there's 3 minutes left in intermission.
Three whole minutes?
Actually, I think we might be done. We have 29. I think everybody came back. Is everybody ready to start again? I think let's start again.
Wait.
We are ready. Okay. I hope you all welcome back, everyone. Thanks for staying with us. Jeremy, yes?
Sort of, yes. Semi, yes. Someday we're going to hit the advertisement on Spotify, but not quite yet.
Why don't you? We should have an account.
Hold on. All right, here
Jeremy,
we go.
for God's sake, grow up and pay for Spotify.
I was gonna say you don't pay for Spotify.
I won't pay for parking. I won't pay for major medical procedures. So not Spotify. No.
Sorry. I keep forgetting people can hear me.
Oh wait, sorry. Hold on. Okay. Wait.
Okay, great. Thank you and welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us, everyone. Cracking on with our next event. I am going to attempt. So our next artist is Danielle Gatto Hirano, who I will drop her information, her Instagram and website in the chat. Is a multidisciplinary artist working in digital and live mediums with a background in directing for stage. Gatto's body of work includes interactive installations, analog collage and assemblage, original video projects, and documentation of live performances. Gatto is co-founder of the installation of art duo Gatto plus Hirano with performance artist Makoto Hirano. Based in Philadelphia, PA, Gatto's works have been shown in a variety of venues, including the Ringling Museum of Art, the Philadelphia Fringe Festival, Da Vinci Art Alliance, Asian Arts Initiative, Culture Project, Veo College Gallery, Stone Valley Arts, and the Scandinavian College Museum as part of their permanent collection. In addition to her practice, Gatto also works as a counselor with survivors of domestic violence, teaches self-defense, and trains in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Unfortunately, Danielle could not be here with us tonight, so I'm going to attempt to share my screen and take us over to the SORTES website and just show you some of her work. So hopefully, I'm also going to share sound and optimize for video, and hopefully this happens. Oh, sorry, I have to enter a password in for some reason. My screen?
Yep.
Oh,
Looks
great.
good.
Oh,
If you could maximize that, but if not, that's fine.
yes, I can, I think.
I think so
going
too.
to play a little piece of art she did. Please enjoy. That is Lexicon.
I love that.
We also have, I will scroll through briefly the other works in this issue of SORTES.
Kevin, these are all collages, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Let's see. And finally,
I thought you might like this.
those are incredible, and you can, I think I've stopped sharing now. Yes, you can see them all without me scrolling on the website. And yeah, find more about Danielle there too. It's all really, really cool stuff. And now, oh, Jeremy, did you want to?
Why not?
Sure.
Take the flame inside you, burn and burn below. Fire seed and fire feed and make the baby grow.
Our next works are by Rich Ives, who sadly cannot be here with us tonight, but I will read his bio first and then introduce our reader. Rich Ives has received awards from the National Endowment of the Arts, Artists Trust, Seattle Arts Commission, and Coordinating Council of Literary Magazines for his work in poetry, fiction, editing, publishing, translation, and photography. He has won Bitter Oleander's Francis Locke Poetry Award and the Thin Air Creative Nonfiction Award. His books include A Light from the Small Brown Bird, Sharpen, The Balloon Containing the Water Containing the Narrative Begins Leaking, Old Man Walking Home After Dark, dubious inquiries into magnificent inadequacies, a servant's map of the body, incomprehensibly well-adjusted missing persons of interest, and tunneling to the moon. All of those titles are maybe better than anything I have ever written personally. And our reader, you know him, you love him, you've been staring at him all night, and he does not pay for Spotify, so you may hear commercials later. Jeremy Eric Tenenbaum.
Rich Ives, Insect Group 5 to 26. The Appearance of Truth. Walnut caterpillar. Walnut, butternut, pecan, hickory. Lucky and Imir attack the eastern United States. They invite their friends. Gregarious feeding, cheap party whistles. No, no, no. You are not the centerpiece, absent brother. Neither should you wander to the periphery. The pain is approaching now. Do not listen to what you have to say while under this influence, except to restructure your thinking. We have no rules. We have no ending but the temporary story that lives within the larger story and never really dies, but it starts over beyond the beginning. When you wait, you are getting stronger. When you push ahead, you are using that strength and must stop to replenish it or hold it against yourself like a stone. This is not the only place your heart must be found, but you have to discover the others on your own and insert them like a piece of the countryside that appears in your dreams as an animal and devours you and spits you back out because you didn't belong there. But you had to get eaten to learn that and to be less afraid the next time, even if the next time will not be identifiable as the next time until it's over. Still, your heart knows and gradually has more and more to say to you. The past is easily ignored, even if it's still there. You can't go home now without building a new one that might even look just like the old one. First, you let Lucky warm the axe against your chest until your heart palpitates, and then you begin speaking as you strike, felling story after story, and at some point, you no longer need the axe. 3 of anything is not a completion, but a provocation. Ask Ymir. Ignoring it enlarges the size, but not the number. Perhaps 3 more will come along and refuse to be 6. We've been waiting for the morning long enough. Nothing can happen in the dark that doesn't stay in the dark, but the morning can fall asleep, partly open all day, and still be there in the moonlight. We are talking now about experience, not planets. Gold thread is not golden, but merely desirable, and we use it to attach one desirable thing to another, as if we wanted to attach the thread to the rest of a life, instead of the rest of a life attaching to itself the discovery of a different need for the golden thread. Sometimes the appearance of truth is greater than the truth and leads us to other hidden truths. There are no rules except some things don't work. Ask Ymir. One more poem. The Replacement. Western spruce budworm. Poot Tunnel Buds earned his name, but he also chews needles all the way to extensive defoliation. His children are olive brown, but he's among the highly variable in color. His wife is a good flyer, as his kids will likely be. They arrived from shingle-like masses at the undersides of the needles they ate. Poot is a carefully mistaken honor, but in which direction? Which part is X and which is Y? A dead man has no rudder, but a live one has no boat. Only bodily notions in a rainstorm. Some days they sail, and sometimes they drink, these skin profs with the experience Poot needs. Poot listens to summer in the stones too long, and Poot hears winter. The center hasn't yet arrived, but it promises to be a smooth one, without walls, without caps. Remove the shroud, and a faint light appears. Remove the faint light, and you're unavailable. An absence choosing a presence so that its leave-taking might become more noticeable, more dominant. A presence choosing an absence that it may return judiciously. Translation? The best choice cannot remain the best choice, but it can replace itself with its own future. One speaks. The other doesn't seem to be listening. Poot has learned more than I did yesterday. The lifetime before seems condensed, on its way somewhere unimaginable. I can't think of anything missing. There is more to life than the creature, but the creature is the explanation for all that's necessary. Rich Ives, thank you. I'm indignant that I have to play my own going out music.
I would have done it.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Our next work is by Gavin Bourke. Sadly, Gavin also couldn't be here tonight for the extremely unreasonable excuse is that he lives in Ireland. So he is probably asleep right now. But Gavin Bourke grew up in Tholuck, West Dublin. He holds a BA in Humanities from Dublin City University, an MA in Modern Drama, and a higher diploma in Information Studies from University College Dublin. His work has been published in Crossways Literary Magazine, A New Ulster, Q-Tub Minor Review, Writers in the Know, Tiny Seed Literary Journal, Poesis Literary Journal, In the Dead Heat, Procchia Review, and E-Ratio, and many other journals. Gavin has published numerous poetry collections. His first book was shortlisted by Hedgehog Poetry Press, and he won the nicely folded paper Trois Pamphlet International Competition for his book Towards Human from Hedgehog Poetry Press. Gavin has worked in public service for over 20 years. And reading Gavin's work is SORTES alum and my general friend and Tom Selleck lookalike, Patrick Blagrave. Patrick is a poet, editor, and debtor from Philadelphia. His first book, Prophet/Prophet, is available from Recenter Press. Prolit magazine, which he founded in 2019, publishes writing and art about money, work, and class. Most recently, he wrote an essay about Black Sabbath's Paranoid album, available now at 68to05.com. I'll drop that in the chat. It's really good. Please read it. Thank you, Patrick, for being here.
Can you hear me? Great. So I'm going to read both of the poems that Gavin has in SORTES, which is very nice. I'm glad Kevin asked me to read. The first one is called Times and Time. Besieged by an army of clocks, bigots, accessing ancestral unconsciousness, harrowing post-fame, tawny ports and padlocks. Freak winds the morning, the bleeding began to stop after a kick from a wild bullock, never getting gobbled up, covering up. Saturday night, baking, vegetable vans and cribs down school corridors, embossed in silicone skin. Saturday afternoon, dream symbols, the back garden, blind drunk, morphine pumps, destinations, twine mouths, scratching a living. Took a break to come back again in daylight, saving times, unraveling Deuteronomic, Teutonic, Ogamic, and totemic mysteries after a house fire. In search of signposts, broken-faced, slow fragmentation, digital witcheries, the deeds of gaunt and plump, to go too far into the darkness, where there can be no separation of art and artist. Unintelligible sounds for songs suspended from unfamiliar percussive beats, a man who performed gymnastic maneuvers to justify his own existence and hide his insatiable greed. Another could never accept himself as he was and is, so he did not. He just was and is, someone else existing beside himself until death they do part. A builder's son got a job on a site to sleep all day and night. Pitted, parched, and arid evening out the bubbles and dents left the lampshade on a post, the tassels having blown off in the wind, no Damascene moments, for blind arrogance, white noise to quieten some horrors never invited in by the soul. Triggered images of dead fingernails clawing at wooden window ledges, queer red corn stalks and wicker men of parallel lines of telephone masts. Rash decisions and rash-laden, flushed, blushed, faces of stone within the required essence, lost in a game with no concept to where to lay blame for homeostasis and static staccato movements, despite persistent attempts to propel the self over the heads of crowds of sincere infantries, climbing over their backs with insincerity and little else. Calmer with spectrums of colors of white noise, forgetting of white, chalky, porous bones, and those nursing hangovers since before the BC era, avoidable time, and unavoidable time, and times, time again, time again. The second one is called Tires. Covering up, they often fall from floors, one by one or a few at a time, timed to perfection, chess moves, to the kingdoms of oblivion, discommodating, discombobulating, disemboweling in stiff collared shirts, dagger moves under desks in the hours of light and darkness, necessities being the mother of all invention, bent rusty knives and safety pins, carpets of nails, chairs of panel pins and metatarsals and metacarpals nailed into stone before being jettisoned and thrown overboard by the dog-faced in cotton wool, blankets of blood running, dried and crusted, drinking from mugs of rum dusted in the corpses of last year's trash. Hiding the steel traps with sharp, rusted iron teeth, well used to bone in safes and presses, with the history of hundreds of breakdowns and admissions to asylums for those luckier than the premature dead, deception, betrayal, callous disregard, intentional harm, ill will, spite, bitterness, and pure unadulterated hate, and Kaylee's dead skull used for potted plants and to hold birdseed, the blood of the meek, the good, rarely, the bad, rotten inside out, like old, dry, peeling bark from a dead and burnt out tree, claw hammers, fox catchers, vice grips, an array of weapons hidden in mouth and print. Scrawled their names in blood on a fat one with a Stanley knife and scalpel blade, disposing of the body down a stairwell to nowhere, left worse off than prison to face the cold, hard, unforgiving streets and an endless life for stealing a chocolate bar off a supermarket floor, half eaten, half not, cast down, cast aside, cast out with stones. Broken in half, carried by fatted calf and another 30 years of desktop games before the rolling pin, steamroller, and death knell, flattened, wettened, weakened to water and gibberish, barely broken a rash in the process of execution by lethal procedures. Left to kick the rusted screws and tin cans around vacant yards of hard, cracked concrete, nooks and crannies, oil-stained slates covered in earthworms and woodlice and a rat and dog carcasses. Long gone putrid, the stench of death, unbearable for any human constitution, where the porcelain dolls wear prosthetic limbs and gyrate on barbed wires, disturbed, desperate, directionless, desecrated, devastated, dead. Thanks. I encourage you to read them in the issue. They have a lot of commas.
Faye, can I gently ask, does that poem make you wish that yours were even more vicious and terrifying?
Yes, for the record, yes.
I like the record. Music.
Who doesn't want it?
I put my hand on her knee and she says, do you want to see? I put my hand on her breast and she says, do you want a kiss? Gently, 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 gently.
Demree McGhee is a literature and writing student at UC San Diego. Her poetry and prose is either featured or forthcoming in Lunch Ticket, Wax 9 Journal, Burn All Books, The Spectacle, and more. You can read more of her work at demreemcgee.com. Please welcome Demree.
Hi, it's so nice to meet everyone. It's so nice to hear everyone's amazing work. Mine's a little bit lengthy, so I'll probably only be reading about half of it. And then you can read the rest on Sorts. So I'll just jump right into it. A matter of survival. Kitty had to get fake teeth in the 5th grade after I punched her in the mouth for calling me a monkey. She had danced around in front of me, hooting and scratching her armpits because the way I sat squat on the blacktop to read made me look like an ape. I grabbed her twisting blonde pigtails and yanked her mouth to my fist, like my mother had talked about doing once, to a girl in a parking lot when I was still a peach pit in her belly. The 2 front teeth skittered across the ground like dice, and the blood leaked from her mouth as steady as a faucet. I collected the teeth and kept them in a sewing box. From then on, any fight I got into, even if I lost, I made sure to collect something. Fistfuls of hair, scraps of shredded clothing, a pink acrylic nail that had been lodged into my arm. My mother was mostly upset about how I came back home with my clothes streaked with blood and dirt. She was still dressing me well into high school in pleated knee-length skirts and stiff frilled blouses with white collars that crawled up my neck, my hair greased back into a tight bun. I went to school with rich white kids whose socks always stayed glaringly white, no matter how many times they stretched out on their backs under the bleachers, spelling each other's names in spit on their bellies. My mother bought me secondhand clothes with the quarters from her teeth, shining silver coins leaking from a hollowed slit in her mouth. My first memory is of me sitting propped on the counter of a Goodwill while my mother searched through stacks of clothes her friends had hidden behind the counter, thumbing through the least frayed and pilled dresses and jamming her thumb into her gums to make the coins spill past her lips like a slot machine. Her teeth were one of many places she kept her money, closed and carved out books, taped inside a cowskin drum, tucked in the toes of rain boots. Before company came, she would instruct me to move the money, swollen plastic baggies of quarters and rubber band rolls of cash, to new hiding spots, and would tell me to do it again once company left. Once, she saw a $5 bill fluttering out of my jacket pocket. She snatched it from me, and her grip cut into my shoulders. I could beat you, she said, breath iron sharp. I won't because I love you, but I could. My mother always wanted me to be grateful for things she didn't do to me, like when I met Kitty again in my senior year of high school in a swimming pool parking lot. She stood leaning against her car, barefoot in a bikini top and shorts. Her long blonde ponytails had been chopped and buzzed close to her head, not nearly enough to grasp in a fistful. 2 shining chili peppers bobbed from her ears, dripping water onto her shoulders. We stared at each other until her eyes felt like hot stones against my skin. I told her she looked like a genuine dyke. She flashed a grin that showed all of her teeth. I shuddered. I had expected to hurt her. In the back seat of her car, I kept desperately trying to grab onto her hair while she rutted in my lap and tore open my collar to drink the sweat flooding in the hollow of my throat. My hand slipped against her buzzed head and fell to grip at her waist. My tongue grazed her top teeth. I thought maybe I could feel how the front 2 might have been smoother than the rest. And I felt that because I had the real thing, I had already conquered her body. I wanted to pluck the fake ones out and crawl into the empty space to live there, rot her gums black. Or did a bunch of dentists shove metal in her mouth to screw in her porcelain teeth? If so, I wanted to wear it down with my spit until it rusted and she could think of me when the ruddy saliva oozed from her mouth. Kitty gave me a ride home, and my mother watched me shamble out of her car with my shirt untucked and one of Kitty's shining chili peppers tucked into my fist. "I could move you back to Oklahoma," she cried, and we both understood this as a kind of death sentence. "You'll be stalking those fields until you dig a rut for yourself to be buried in." I told her that sometimes it felt like I was drowning on land. I told her that sometimes I walked the 2 hours out to the beach and stood on the edge of the pier until I felt the sea salt air corrode the strength in my knees. She laughed. "If only you had grown up like me." A story I had heard 3 times by then about how my grandmother, Grandma Junebug, made her sit outside on the porch if she wasn't home by the time she said to be home at. If she left from the porch, my grandmother kept the door locked for longer. One time, my mother amassed 3 days on the porch, licking up food in bowls my grandmother had pushed out the front door for her and watching the sun shiver the horizon. Another time, she had tried to force her way through the window with her elbow, and Grandma Junebug sent her back out, leaving my mother to pick bloody shards of glass from her arm alone. My mother did not send me to Oklahoma permanently, but she decided to send me there for spring break. After the rising threat of girls in bikini tops skating through the streets outside our house like chlorine-soaked packs of gods, plucked her nerves as the ground turned brittle beneath their wheels. My Grandma Junebug, a woman whose skin stretched over her body like a thin billowing sheet, bird wrist, downturned eyes, but her voice rose from her chest like a howling wind in a hollowed out cave, the strength of the sound proving there was life from the source it came from. She spoke constantly, labyrinthine chatter that exposed the personal lives of neighbors and churchwomen. The point of conversation always seemed 10 steps removed from its origin. And in the midst of her dizzying narrative, she would put her hand around my wrist to invite me to laugh at her own joke. And I'd noticed just how strong her grip was and how straight she kept her back while mine listed against the weight of an hour or 2 past. But she'd still be talking, eyes glinting and focused on me. And do you want to hear what happened next? When Grandma Junebug asked for something, she demanded it. My mother thought I might learn some womanly traits from Junebug, or at the very least, I would be forced to copy them for a couple of weeks. But the extent of any forced femininity stopped after Junebug took both my hands in her fierce grip, observed my short nails, and asked me if I wanted a manicure. She chose the color, a milky nursery pink. And she brought me to Bingo, where one of the tubes of pink ink cracked and spilled down the front of my sundress, and I absorbed a room's worth of cigarette smoke until she won. Later, Grandma Junebug asked me if I wanted to accompany her on her afternoon walks at the hottest point of the day, when the red dirt we kicked up mixed with my sweat-drenched blouses and made them blush. Grandma Junebug asked me if I wanted to go stargazing. She had her hand rested on a pistol in her nightgown pocket, as if she planned to shoot the stars loose from the black sky, which seeped into the ground and finally made the red clay black. We could hardly see in front of us, and instead had to rely on the shrinking dot of light from the porch and the sounds we made between ourselves. Junebug slippers slapping against her heels, metal clicking against her thigh, the steady shuffle of grass broken by a flinching body that made me gasp, and that Junebug confirmed to be some sort of threat. She swiped her gun from her hip and shot at the spasming thing. I took my phone from my pocket. We were both marked with sparkling confetti droplets of blood from the jackrabbit twitching in the weak stream of cell phone.
He was just asking if
He took the rabbit home. I carried it swaddled in my jacket like a baby, my finger plugged in the seeping wound in its neck. Junebug said rabbits were a good source of meat. Of course, she wouldn't eat it, she told me, but she knew a white woman who shot and killed them all the time for her and her 2 kids. We would give it to them as a gift in the morning. I followed her voice without looking up, too busy watching the stars stream by and the jackrabbit's still eyes. Thank you.
Woo! Woo! Ah!
I love that story so much. Please go read the rest of it. It's incredible. Thank you, Demree. All right, and those easy listening jams bring us to last but never ever least, Mordecai Martin. Mordecai is a Jewish writer working in the culturally contiguous territory of Lenape-Hoking. He lives in a small but beautiful house with a small but beautiful cat and a tall and beautiful wife. His work has appeared in Gone Long, X-Ray, and Funicular, and is forthcoming in Timber and Peach. He tweets at Mordecai P. Martin and blogs at mordecaimartin.net. Mordecai Martin.
Gang, it's been such a great evening. I'm so excited to read for you tonight. I am not going to read from my Sorts piece. You can read my Sorts piece, every cat a sphinx. It's too long to read from tonight. I will, in my opinion, my humble but final opinion. This story is thematically linked in that if every cat is sphinx is about how cats are great and wonderful and I love them, this is a story about how every dog is a cop. Which is too mean. It's too mean. I actually do love dogs. I'm a huge dog fan. I grew up with a dog who meant the world to me. But I did have to work out some ancestral weirdness around dogs. If you ever met an ultra-Orthodox Jew, you realize they're very weird about dogs. They're very scared but enthralled by them. This is what this story is sort of about. It's called Best Friends. The first Jew to own a dog watched his children gamble and sport in the grass with the dog and did not think about his great-grandfather's right hand. His great-grandfather had only 4 fingers on his right hand, one lost to a Bialystok policeman's dog in the terrible pogroms of 1906. But now his great-grandfather was long dead, and he had never met his great-grandson, who did not think about his hand as he walked the dog each morning. The dog barked at a passing man, and the first Jew to own a dog frowned at the dog and smiled apologetically at the passerby. He did not think about how when his grandfather came to America, he had worked as a junkman, clattering and chased from house to house by the barking of dogs. The first Jew to own a dog did not even think how his own mother, who visited her grandchildren often, would be afraid of the dog. The first Jew to own a dog did it for his children and for the child inside of him, who had desperately wanted another mouth to feed in a tenement apartment that couldn't afford it. The first Jew to own a dog could have just fed some mud off the street, but instead he went down to the ASPCA shelter and let his kids pick one out and signed his name with a big flourish. The first Jew to own a dog drove the dog and his kids home in a big post-war American-made car to a modest house that still felt enormous to him, somewhere green and far from the city in which he worked. The first Jew to own a dog stroked the soft fur of the dog as it sat obediently at his feet and felt like $1,000,000. Thank you. I'm gonna read, thank you. I'm gonna read one more story. It's a little bit longer. It's called The Last Fight of Louis Lembich, and it's a slightly physically demanding story, but I'm gonna read it. I wrote it for not Sorts. I apologize. I should have written it for Sorts because it got rejected from the magazine I did send it to, which was Words and Sports Quarterly, and it's about a boxing match. It's called it's called The Last Fight of Laughing Louis Lembich. Turning on the radio to find a sickening voice, scratched and hinting of a faded, saccharine luxury. A voice like my grandmother's in my most golden memories of her, but here masculine and drawling, rasping periodically in brash excitement. Louis Lembich is announcing his last fight before retirement. Louis Lembich, consummate radio man, sports fan, called the Dodgers games when just a boy in his native Brooklyn. Louis Lembich had hoard his voice out. He'd take breaks from announcing the weather to enthuse about a wedding venue, feel like a princess under the marvelous 40-light chandelier. A piece of cheesecake, real cream. A local steakhouse. Take it from a boy from Brooklyn, it's New York strip. Louis Lembich, reading the news or the box score, or the over-under in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in St. Petersburg, Florida, in whatever market was paying and didn't mind the whine in his voice or the on-air pause as he took a puff from a cigar or covertly swigged his flask. Laughing Louis Lembich and his beat up but upbeat, broken down but never breaking voice, doing blow by blow at one last fight after thousands. He called Robinson and Ali, and Hagler and Tyson. He called $1 million purses and small, ignoble fights between ugly men who've been paid to lose. Louis Lembich was narrating one last epic struggle, one last boxing match, because he'd been paid up through fight night, and Social Security and his daughter Janet was taking care of the rest. Laughing Louis spoke one last time from a small local station in Salt Lake City, where they never quite pronounced his name right. Louis Lembich spoke, and this is what he said. Thanks, Bill. This is Louis Lembich coming to you from Salt Lake City, Utah, where a heavyweight champion, Gene L. Sorry, that's welterweight champion. Sorry, that's flyweight loser. More laughter. I'm not sorry. What does it matter? What matters his weight or his titles? Tonight's another fight. Two men in a ring, Gene L. and Jorge R. But they move as one, chasing one another, chasing shadows of each other. Like all boxers, they fight themselves, ducking and weaving through a horde of ghosts. Anyway, L does happen to be the Utah State undefeated junior welterweight champion. He's a respectable 28 years old, still so young, but he's up against the fearsome fighter, Jorge R. And R is just 19 years old, the age I met my first love, who I never married and who must be dead now, long ago betrayed by me and other men. L will defend his championship, his little fiefdom he carved out of weight and geography and victory. And there's the bell, two men in the ring circling each other. And there's the shadowy third referee, Alan S., who talked to them in the locker room like a priest performing a rite, expiating the fighters from their conscience. They can attempt murder tonight, pounding away at each other. And there is the vicious jab of R, thrashing away at each other because the ref is there to stop it getting too bad. Their conscience is clean and their punches can kill. Nice body work by the champ there, but R has got him against the ropes. Hear that crowd that I'm a part of. That's the fourth, or maybe if the boxers are, as I said, one, maybe the crowd is the third person in this trinity. Boxers, referee, crowd. The crowd is cloudy. There's the bell. A decisive round for the challenger, Jorge R. Out comes the card girl. There she is with the card showing the coming round two. Lovely girl. Wonder if she's Mormon here in Salt Lake City. A girl my mother would have called a shiksa. What my friends and I would have called a real shiksa bombshell. She's all legs and teeth. There's the bell again. And we're in round two. The crowd is cloudy, as I said, like my milky white left eye. The crowd roars, but every roar from one side of the arena is met with a boo from the other side. And now they're booing the cautious approach to this round from both fighters. They're circling each other. L, the champ, doesn't have the reach of R. He's looking for a way inside. And the crowd is booing in their heated passion for blood, for action, for money. L seems to feel that disapproval, so he moves in. And there's a 1-2 combo snap from R, and L is reeling. And the crowd is appeased at the sight of, is that? Yes, it is, blood. Blood speckling the light blue trunks of L. But which fighter is bleeding? It's from the bridge of R's nose, the speckling on L's trunks. It's like the spots of a ladybug caught in my daughter's jars and brought to me for inspection and blessing. Those daughters that no longer need their father, that no longer speak to him. Save Janet, who loves me most. I'm most cruel to you, Janet, and I'm sorry I brought you to this fight tonight to watch these men brutalize each other as R takes a flurry of hits to the body against the ropes, and that's round two. I'm rambling, I know. My daughter wants me to retire. Spend more time trying to talk to her sisters. I say, what's the point? I have you that can hear me anytime there's a fight. To hell with the two older Lembich girls. You love me more than them anyway, Janet. And round three begins. Not a moment too soon. Janet is talking to my producer, and I can only assume they want me to get off the mic. They think I'm losing it. They think I've lost it. I'm losing it, but maybe they're right, but I'm not losing it any more than R, who seems to be struggling to get back to his stride. L is controlling the pace of this fight, getting inside. Now R has a cut above the eye. I've collected so many injuries to myself, and the young men I watch beat each other. And Janet, my producer, they seem calmer now. That's good. I never could see her cry. I used to scream at her to stop crying. A grown man angry at a child for crying. Can you imagine? I'm watching L beating the head of R, but he's still standing, still fighting. It's the damn stupid automatic bravery of the boxer. I don't have that anymore. I can't keep getting up here. It's my last fight. I want to go to the lake with Janet, my grandkids. I want to remember that girl I was so damn mean to and forget all the women who came after. R is punching for his life, but it's no good. L has him now. His legs look wobbly, but there's the bell just in time. Me, I have even less time. I'm not losing it tonight. but I'm forgetting things. I don't remember whether it's called a straight right or a right cross anymore. There goes the bell. We're in round 4. R looks in reinvigorated, and L looks determined. What a fight I had with my girls over what was it, a will and a wife, and they wanted me to leave all the money to them, but I said I'd leave it all to the wife. Anyway, they were right. That wife got tired of waiting for me to die and took off. But I was right. Oof, what a savage left from O. They only want my money too, so I spend it all on Janet and her kids who don't want anything but me. And R is down. The count starts. He's struggling to his feet, but there it is. The fight is over. And Gene L is the undefeated champ. L is the champion by knockout in the 4th. That's my last fight. I'm done. Janet, let's go to the lake. I've called my last fight. I'm done. And then some sobbing. And then turning the radio off. Thank you.
Yeah, Mo, we'll publish that.
Okay.
I was typing as fast as I could.
Everybody just witnessed our first live acceptance.
I'll see where it lands up, but yeah, probably you'll publish that. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Jeremy, do you have music before I finish up? Thank you, everyone. This was the reading for Sorts Issue 7, The Man Going Before Me Who Led Me Away. You have heard and seen works by Ives Johnston, Heikki Huotari, Chris Eagle, Faye Chevalier, Danielle Gatto Hirano, Rich Ives, Gavin Bourke, Demree McGhee, Mordecai Martin, with special guest appearances by Patrick Blagrave and Jeremy Eric Tenenbaum. Thank you all for coming. Please follow us on the socials. This was a wonderful night. Come next time. If anybody has any art of any stripe that they would like to share with us, please email us, drop us some DMs, hang out with us anytime. Oh yes, buy that book. It's quite lovely. And
which includes works by 2 of our readers tonight, Ives and Mordecai.
Oh yeah. And they'll sign it. Mo will call you up and read to you. So will Ives.
We've got swag. We'll include swag with it.
Yeah, stickers are free. Yes, one more round of applause for our contributors and for yourselves. Read more at the website, and thanks so much for coming.
Take yourselves off mute and let us hear how happy you are.
This was so good.
Thank y'all.
Everybody, thank you. Thank you.